Hello, I'm Gordon Lang, editor of CameraLabs.com. If you bought a Canon Digital SLR kit, chances are the lens that it came with is the standard EFS 18-55mm model. That's the lens I've got here mounted on a Canon EOS 400D or Rebel XTI body. Now this lens is great to get you started in DSLR photography. It offers a general purpose 3x optical zoom range that goes from reasonable wide angle to short telephoto capabilities. It's also extremely small and light. However, it's important to remember that this is a budget entry-level lens, and as such it won't be letting you get the most from your Canon Digital SLR. For example, the optical and build quality are not up to some of the better models that are out there, and in terms of manual focusing, you'll be gripping the end of the lens here and turning it around. Also, when you put it in autofocus, you'll notice that the end element rotates and makes quite a lot of noise while it's doing it. This can be very annoying if you're into using things like polarizing filters. So, the big question is, if you found yourself already outgrowing the 18-55mm, or perhaps you're buying a Canon DSLR and you want to get a decent lens from day one, what do you upgrade to? Well, in this video I'm going to show you three of the most popular options for upgrading the Canon kit lens. There are three very different lenses with very different capabilities, and we're going to show you the pros and cons of each of them. The first lens we're going to look at is in fact the most popular option for Canon DSLR owners looking to upgrade their kit lens. It's the Canon EFS 17-85mm, and it offers a number of benefits in practice, most notably a longer optical zoom range that goes from 17 to 85mm, and that's what the barrel looks like when it's fully extended. Now 17mm may not sound like a great deal of difference from the 18 of the kit lens, but in practice it does let you capture a slightly wider field. The biggest difference though is when you've got this lens fully zoomed in. It simply gets much closer at 85mm than the kit lens can. So if you're finding the kit lens just can't really zoom in close enough, this is certainly one to consider. There are of course other benefits to the 17-85 though. It has built-in image stabilization. This uses a special element built into the lens barrel that actually adjusts to compensate for camera shake as you're taking your picture. And because it's built into the lens, you can see the effect through the optical viewfinder as you compose your picture, and that's very reassuring in practice. It also features a proper manual focusing ring and a little window there where you can actually see the focusing distance markings. This lens also uses a USM focusing motor that's quicker and quieter than the kit lens. I've got a demonstration of that right now. I'm going to press the shutter release button in halfway and just watch the end element and listen very carefully. That was in fact the lens focusing from one extreme to the other, and it was both quick and quiet, and you'll notice that the end element didn't rotate either, which is great news if you're using a polarizing filter. So all in all, a lot of really great reasons to upgrade to this lens, but it's not all good news. When you've got this lens fully zoomed out to 17mm, there is quite noticeable light fall off in the corners where it gets a little bit darker, and there's also some noticeable geometric distortion when you've got it zoomed out too. Perhaps one of the most annoying things about this lens though is that Canon doesn't supply a lens hood with it. Now this is just looking a bit mean in practice because it's not that cheap a lens, and yet you still have to pay extra for the lens hood. Unfortunately, that's standard practice for all Canon lenses that aren't part of its L luxury range, and that's a fact of life from Canon. We'd like to see it change though. Next up, the Canon EFS 17-55mm, and at this point you'll be thinking, wait a minute, 17-55mm, isn't that pretty much the same optical range I have on the kit lens? Why is this one so much bigger, heavier and clearly more expensive? Well, it does of course have several benefits over the kit lens, and the most important one is its constant f2.8 aperture throughout its range, whether it's zoomed out or zoomed all the way in. Now what that means is that when you've got this lens zoomed out, it gathers almost twice as much light as the kit lens does. But when both of them are fully zoomed into 55mm, this model gathers 4 times more light. Now that's clearly very beneficial if you're into photographing under low light conditions. Also, when you have the aperture open to f2.8, you can get a really nice out of focus background effect when you're taking pictures of people, so it's also a great lens for portrait work. Making this lens even more useful for low light photography though is its built-in image stabilization, and it works exactly the same way as the 17-85. It's built into the lens, which means you see the benefit through the viewfinder when you're composing your picture. It also has a proper manual focusing ring and a small window again showing the focusing distance marks. It also uses a USM focusing motor, which like the 17-85 is very quiet, very quick, and also doesn't rotate the front element when you autofocus. So all in all, a number of key benefits, but there are of course downsides to this lens as well. It's the biggest and heaviest of all the lenses that we're showing in this video. It's the most expensive, and yet it still doesn't offer a greater optical range than the kit lens. So if you find the kit lens isn't zooming in far enough or out wide enough, this isn't the lens for you. This is the model that you should be going for if you do take pictures under low light or you're really into portrait work. However, there's still one other downside to it. Like the 17-85, it doesn't come with a lens hood. And that's even more embarrassing for this model because it is quite a lot more expensive. So if you're going to be buying it, you're going to need to go out and get a second accessory for it. The third and final lens I'm going to show you is the Canon Efs 17-40mm, and the first thing you'll notice about this lens is it has a shorter optical zoom range than the kit model. Sure, it zooms out a little bit wider, but it only zooms in as close as 40mm. That is not as close as the 55mm of the kit lens. So you might be asking yourself, why would I want to upgrade to this model? Well, there are of course benefits. If you have a look at the end of the barrel there, you'll see a red ring going around it. That denotes that this is part of Canon's L series. That's L for luxury, and it gets you several benefits over the other models that I've shown you. First of all, you get a lens hood with this model. Hurrah! However, we'd still like to see Canon supply them with its other models, and hopefully that's a decision it will make in the future. The build quality though of the L models is far superior to the other EFS models that I've shown you so far, and you'll notice that the focusing and zoom rings are also switched around. The focusing ring is at the top here, and it feels so much smoother than the focusing ring on the other models, as does the zoom ring. Sometimes you feel on the EFS models that the zoom ring could catch slightly as you go from one end to the other. Not so with this model. You'll also notice when I zoom in and out that while the glass element does move up and down within the constraints of the barrel itself does not extend. This lens also features a USM focusing motor that, like the other models, is quicker and quieter than the kit lens, and also when you autofocus, the lit end section doesn't rotate, so again great news for users of polarizing filters. On the downside, this lens doesn't have built-in image stabilization. At first you might think, well, why would I need it on a lens with such a short focal range? Well, it is still useful to have. You know, it will still stabilize particularly long exposures, which you could be using for special effects, like maybe blurring the water of a waterfall. However, this lens has one real key benefit over all of the others that you've seen in this video so far. It's an EF model, which means it's compatible with full frame DSLRs or indeed film cameras. So this lens will also work on a Canon EOS 5D, for example, should you want to upgrade in the future. None of those EFS lenses will work on a full frame body. So the 18-55, the 17-85, 17-55, they will only work on EFS compatible bodies, not full frame models. So if you're thinking of upgrading to full frame in the future, perhaps you should be thinking about investing in EF rather than EFS lenses, because these are ones that you can reuse on your other body. However, we wouldn't recommend this lens for somebody upgrading from the standard kit model if they weren't thinking of going for full frame, or particularly if they didn't have any other lenses to go with it, because zooming into just 40mm is not quite close enough to get you a decent general purpose range. You'll find it lacking a little bit when you're trying to zoom in. If, however, you've got another lens to go with it and you are thinking of going full frame in the future, it's definitely one to consider. So there's 3 great options for anyone who's thinking about upgrading their standard 18-55mm kit lens. Each of the 3 lenses that I've just shown you will offer superior optical quality, better build quality and quicker, quieter focusing than the kit lens, along with the front element that doesn't rotate. Beyond that, there are specific advantages to each of them, maybe a longer optical range, a brighter aperture, built-in image stabilization, or compatibility with a full-frame body, and these are things that you have to weigh up for yourself when you're deciding which model is most appropriate for you to upgrade to. And as always, we've got full results comparing each of these lenses against the kit model and samples taken with each of them in our full review at www.cameralabs.com. But before I go, a final word about the kit lens. After watching this video, you may well think, if I'm buying a new Canon DSLR, why bother getting the kit lens at all? I'll just buy a body alone and get a decent lens from day one. Well, while I would recommend that you do buy a better lens sooner rather than later to get the most from your Canon DSLR, it's still a sensible option to go for the kit package, simply because it gives your camera better resale value and it's also a backup model should anything go wrong. Once again, to find out more about each of these lenses, visit our full review at www.cameralabs.com.